for two. Kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two. Sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this. Multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 308 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Of course, we are part of the Going for Two Live podcast network, and we're here every Wednesday night on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and of course, syndicated on all major podcast networks. If you're watching us on Twitter, we cannot see you in the chat room, so go find us on YouTube. It is youtube.com/@GoingForTwoLive. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Steerfoss. You can follow him at Foss534. What's up, Ryan? Ryan, you there?
What's that? Yeah, I can hold on. Bad tonight, even though it's been good for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know what's going on. Mine's showing yellow too. All of a sudden, I think it must be our guest.
Yeah, that's you. I have all green bars. It ain't me.
Let me go ahead and introduce my guest here, and if I have to switch my Wi-Fi, I will real quick. Of course, joining us tonight for the first time. I've been on his show a couple times in the past week. Unfortunately, I'm not invited back after this last week because we lost. But Steve, host of the Fantasy Ladder podcast, you can follow him at Fantasy Ladder. What's up, Steve?
Happy to be here. Very happy my Eagles won, but I would love to have you back on the show, just not to discuss the 49ers as they're not going to be in the Super Bowl, but we'll have to find another time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, if you could do me a favor real quick and just hold down the fort for like 5 seconds while I switch my Wi-Fi connection here. Just talk to Steve.
Awesome. Wow. So you said you brought Jeff on to talk about the Niners on your show?
Yeah, I did a little like round by round playoff preview and going through each of the levels of the playoffs. I had a fan of each team for the most part. There's a couple I wasn't able to lock down, but had Jeff on to talk about 49ers and Cowboys in the divisional round, and then 49ers Eagles in the championship round there. So yeah, I was happy to get him on, but you know, as an Eagles fan, I'm the representative Eagles fan.
Even happier.
Even happier, yeah. I don't want to rub it in, but I was glad to come away with a W, even though that was a pretty ugly game, just unfortunately with a lot of injuries in that. But yeah.
Feel free to rub it.
All right, I think I'm back and I got green bars now. Can you hear me now, Ryan?
Yeah, you're good. And I'm glad it wasn't me for a change, even though you tried to blame it on me, asshole.
I think what happened was I changed to I have two internet connections and I had it on the wrong one for some reason, but I think I'm good now. So, Steve, real quick, kind of give my listeners a little rundown of what y'all do over at Fantasy Ladder and just what you kind of do in the fantasy space in general.
Yeah, so a little bit of background about me. I've been writing articles for the last couple of seasons for Dynasty Pros, Fantasy Football, as well as IDP guys. This year, I kind of got out of writing a little bit more and just started the podcast where through the season, I did a lot of like start sit type of talk, before the games, obviously. And then over the off season, did some like team previews and a little bit of dynasty talk. So that's what you could expect for the rest of the winters and spring and then summer leading up to the fall. But yeah, so just it's kind of a newer show, but we are having fun here. And we being just myself. It's not like me and my imaginary friend. It's just me for now. So yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome. What were you gonna say, Ryan?
Oh no, I was about to say something to the imaginary friend and then just Gone. I thought I had a smart ass comment, but just left me. We're good. But no, that's fine.
All right, guys. Tonight's show is brought to you, as always, by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their industry-leading best ball leagues with their huge tournaments, private leagues, and pick'ems for every major sport. Sign up with our promo code GF2 and get a deposit match up to $100. It's as simple as that. Sign up, use promo code GF2, and start drafting your best ball teams. We have an awesome show tonight, guys. We're going to be doing a free agent mock draft, just sort of a quick hitter here where we can kind of touch on a lot of the free agents that are going to be hitting the market here pretty soon. We'll also talk about a few of our favorite dynasty stashes or buy lows for the offseason. And, of course, we're going to do our nonsense draft. Let's go ahead and get into that.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right. If you haven't caught the last few episodes, we're doing a nonsense mock draft every week. We're going to have a different topic. Tonight, we are drafting the worst movies you've had to watch in their entirety. So you couldn't have walked out of the theater because it was that bad. For some reason, either you were just had some curiosity, you got to watch the end of it, or you just were forced to watch the end of it by your significant other. And Steve, you had the 101 here. So give us your worst movie you had to sit through.
All right, so there's a little bit of a backstory to this, but I'll just start off by saying it was the summer of 2010. Big movie of that summer was Inception, right? So just kind of taking us back to there. During the summer, I was doing like an internship program at Penn State. I was like an RA, but I also taught a class for high school students who were doing like summer enrichment at the campus. Either way, we had these little like field trip kind of a things, and the one was like a day out to the movies. So the staff had like a little drawing of like who had like priority of like which movie to go see, because you had to chaperone the students in the theater. So you were just responsible for having to have the high school students with you and everything else. So like the big draw was Inception, right? So I didn't get that. What I ended up pulling, what I ended up choosing myself was my top choice here. And it was The Last Airbender, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, I figured, well, at least, there may be some really good special effects, so that might like give it some like redeeming quality, just because some of the M. Night Shyamalan stuff had been a little bit shaky up to that point. Plus, taking on a massive franchise of this anime show, which I wasn't personally familiar with, I figured, well, I'm not that familiar. I'm going in completely open-minded, and man, it was one of the most brutal movie theater going experiences, because the movie was just so bad. The dialogue was horrible. It was actually a big hit. I mean, it doubled its budget. It had a $150 million budget. It made over $300 million. So it was technically a success. But it's a pretty well-known, well-talked about, just awful movie, bad dialogue, bad acting, horrible direction. It's just so flat, falls flat, and it's just a horrendous movie that felt like it was 4 hours, probably under 2, but so for me, that was really just a really upsetting like movie theater going experience. I just was really extremely disappointed leaving the theater, and it was something I chose because of why I didn't get Inception, you know what I mean? But
right.
So that was a real...
Inception was an awesome movie compared to that one, obviously.
Yeah,
I know,
that was a mistake.
definitely a mistake. I know when I was doing my research trying to figure out which movies I wanted to talk about, that one kept popping up. I had actually never seen it, thankfully, but it was in like top 5 or top 10 in all the lists that I looked at.
I want to see it now.
Oh, it's so bad. Guys, I'm telling you, it's really... You're just better off not.
All right, Ryan, you got the 102.
Oof. So I always do I try to, majority of them go to superhero movies on opening nights, right when they come out. And the Fantastic Four movie from 2015 was the most utter dog shit movie I've ever seen. It started fairly okay for like the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, this isn't as bad as the reviews said, because I also try not to read reviews normally, but just solid, you couldn't avoid it. And I've never seen a movie get progressively worse as the time went on. And you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll act. They're going to find Doctor Doom in this direction. In this other dimension will be cool. This big battle. And somehow the special effects looked like they're from 1992. It was such a bad movie. Oh my God, it was terrible. And I had to finish it because God knows how it ends. Everybody knows how every superhero movie ends. Still got ends.
Yeah, that was also on the list of movies I was looking at too. And another movie, I'm not a huge movie person, honestly. I never saw that one either. So thankfully, I had not seen that one. So my movie here at the hashtag blessed. My movie here is it's a little bit older movie. I think I had it on DVD actually. I went out and bought it on DVD. I'm a lot older. But and I don't even know if y'all have seen this movie, but it won some awards. It has some hype, has some good actors and actresses in it. And I thought, okay, let me go see this movie. It seems to be getting some buzz. And like I said, and it won some awards, so it's people that did like it. I don't know why, but it's called Mulholland Drive. It is the weirdest freaking movie you will ever see. I still have no idea what the plot was. I don't know what the hell happened. I left like, okay, they didn't wrap anything up. That's why I watched the whole thing. I kept thinking, okay, eventually this is going to make sense and it's going to come all together. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. But no, it leaves you hanging at the end like, what? That was a movie? Like, I still, to this day, have no idea what the movie was about. I don't know if either one of y'all ever seen that movie, but it was pretty
good. It's directed by David Lynch, so there's a lot of kind of absurd and like surreal. There's like mix of like horror and just creepy. And then there's like, it's nuts from start to finish, and it's like 2.5 hours. Yep. So it's not just like over and done. It's a whole afternoon of just what just happened. You know what I mean? So he definitely is one where you either like it or you don't. You know what I mean? And that one was hyped up for me. I really tried to find things that I appreciated about it, but it's a really bizarre one. You know, it's just very bizarre, very surreal, and you know, not everyone's cup of tea. So it's a very interesting pick. Yeah.
I didn't even know if y'all would even know what that movie was, but I still, to this day, I want to go back and watch it again to see if my 45-year-old brain can handle it better than my 25-year-old brain could, because I could not figure it out to save my life. All right, Steve, we're back to you here.
Okay. Another one that I took upon myself to experience and was definitely let down big time was Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. So I was a senior in high school when the first one came out. I had a lot of the Transformers toys. I've seen a lot of the old cartoons and things. So I was really excited to see, rebooted, crazy special effects, Michael Bay, the whole thing. I really enjoyed the first one. Then the second one came out 2 years later. I had experienced 2 years of college. Maybe I did a lot of growing up over that time. I don't know. Or maybe this next movie was just as awful universally, maybe not just to myself, but when I tell you my expectations were high and like the rug was pulled out, this was an unbelievably horrible movie theater going experience because I'd built it up over time. And then I was just another one that is ungodly long, 2.5 hours. All of the special effects were just as good, but I just like had a headache. It was like too much noise, too much going on. And all of the things that were like funny and quirky about the first one were so over the top and just so overdone that there was like really no like redeeming quality to it at all. On top of the fact that it's like 2.5 hours, so really long. And I really just, like with the other one, I left just really like disappointed in myself. Like, this is what I'm spending my little bit of money on as an independent adult. So Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, that's a very memorable movie theater going experience in the worst way imaginable. Hated that movie, hated it.
Is that the Mark Wahlberg one?
He wasn't involved yet. Basically, like Sam goes off to college and there's like this whole side story of because he's like dating. He's dating Megan Fox, and and then there's a blonde girl thing, and then the bad Transformers who are like twins. They're like unbelievably annoying, and then it's just the back 40 minutes of the movie is just like, it's just a mess and it's chaos. It's just so horrible to watch and listen to. It's so offensive to all of the five senses basically. But oh my gosh. Horrible.
That's another one that I kept coming across too on the list of bad movies, was that one for sure. All right, Ryan, we lost you there for a minute, but you were
Yeah.
now up here at the.
Yeah, my whole Chrome crashed, and I don't know. Mine was okay. I'm a little embarrassed about this one because I probably watched this one 4 or 5 times on my own, even though it's so bad. And it's Rank 2 High Voltage. It's every Jason Statham movie, except he is his heart. He falls out of an airplane to start the movie and dies, and they hook his heart up to a car battery, and he has to keep shocking himself through the movie to stay alive. And it's absolutely just horrendous. But there's just something so great about a movie that terrible. I watched it so many times in college.
That is hilarious.
Like, there's no pride in it, but
yeah. That plot line is just like, whoa, mind blowing.
he's literally just carrying around a car battery and like popping and like shocking his he's like shocking his tongue.
Yep.
And like you see him take like the paddles at the hospital and zap himself, all kinds of crazy crap like that. He just keeps electrocuting himself to stay alive in the movie for revenge. It's unreal.
Wow. All right, so my next one is a comic book movie, but it was before the time frame when comic movies were kind of a big thing and they got those huge budgets. And there's a comic book that came out, and it wasn't Marvel. I loved the comic book. It was, I believe, McFarlane was the one that did it. It's called Spawn. I love the comic books.
What? Spawn's great.
I hated Spawn. If you read the comic books, Spawn, the movie ruined it for you because it did not follow the storyline very well at all. It was just, I was not a fan of Spawn, and it ruined it for me. And they're supposed to be doing another one, redoing the whole thing. I hope they do it better this time. But yeah, that first one, I was not a fan. I wasn't a fan of the Violator character. I wasn't a fan of the whole plot line and everything else that went along with it. Just not a fan at all. Spawn ruined it for me. All right, Steve, back to you.
So I have a bunch left on my list here. Fantastic Four, what was on my list, the one that Ryan had mentioned.
So bad.
And like sometimes I will take on a bad movie just because it's like so well known to be a bad movie that you kind of like can appreciate just how like wild it is. Kind of like Crank 2. There's a podcast called How Did This Get Made where they go through like really horrible movies or just like absurd crazy ones like Crank 2. But I think what I'm going to go with here is one from like my younger childhood that I didn't watch until actually kind of recently, and again another upsetting movie watching experience. This was Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So
that almost made my list.
Yeah. So what's funny is when I was a kid, it was one of my cassettes I had. Like I had like a bunch of cassettes. I had like the Space Jam soundtrack. Like every movie had like a soundtrack during like this like mid and like late 90s era. So I had the cassette. I listened to it endlessly, but I never actually watched the movie until a couple of years ago because I wanted to like kind of refamiliarize myself with like the movies up for when the like the newer Mortal Kombat came out just a couple of years ago. And I mean, like the first one's like a little bit like cheesy and you take it for what it is. But this one was just, it felt like 4 hours. I think it's only like an hour and a half, but it just feels so long. The graphics get worse the second time around. The dialogue is so bad. I remember pausing the movie to like go get a drink, just like it's the only way I could bear through the rest. And it was only like 20 minutes in. I'm like, no way, So definitely Mortal Kombat Annihilation, just an absolute disaster sequel to the first one, which still is like okay, but still like kind of nostalgic. But this is like there's no nostalgia. It's just pure.
It's just bad.
It's awful.
Yeah, that was on my list as well. I saw that one as well, and it was not a fan of it either. All right, Ryan, what you got for your last pick here?
I was debating going for another one that's like terrible, but I love it, or just absolutely hated. And I'm going to go with one I absolutely hated because I just want to warn people around Christmas time not to ever watch this movie because it was so bad. It's called The Fat Man. And it came out, I want to say, it came out in 2020. A kid gets coal for Christmas and pays a hitman, Walton Goggins, to assassinate Santa Claus, who is played by Mel Gibson and is like paid through government contracts and has like his own sweatshop of elves. And there's no joy to it. It's terrible. and nothing's good about it. Like, oh god, I was so excited about it because I love Walton Goggins, and it was just absolute trash. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Don't ruin your Christmas.
I have never even heard of that movie. And you said it had Mel Gibson in it?
Mel Gibson plays Santa Claus.
Wow.
Man,
that's brutal. All right, for my last pick, I'll bring it home here. Let me go with I'm gonna go with one more recent. I mentioned that I'm not a huge movie person. I do watch, I do watch the Avengers and all those movies, but I don't go out a ton to watch movies. But this one, it did come out on streaming first. It didn't go to the theaters, I don't believe. But I was excited about it. It was a trilogy that I had watched. I think it was in early 2000s when it came out. It was awesome. So I thought, oh, this one will be kind of cool, how they kind of throw it back, to the old ones. But unfortunately, Matrix Resurrections was pretty terrible.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
I wanted to, and I just never got around to it.
I don't want to ruin it for y'all, but it's pretty bad the way they try to explain how things happened after the fact, and everything was supposedly in Neo's head, and none of it actually happened. But then he kept having flashbacks like it actually happened, and it's terrible. It's terrible. It just ruined the movies for me. I hope that if they ever make another one, they just kind of cut this one out of the timeline, like it never happened, because it was pretty brutal. All right,
man, that's good to know.
That wraps up the draft. There is any of that y'all want to mention real quick you had on your list, Steve, that you didn't get a chance to draft?
I think if this discussion is coming up, it would be a shame to not mention the classic, the cult classic, The Room. Have you guys seen this?
I have.
Hunk of garbage. I saw it after just hearing about it. So it's this big build up, and I just went in knowing it was going to be awful. I just wanted to see, well, just how bad could it be? And it's horrible, but it is very enjoyable in that sense. What it is. It's just so over the top. The storyline is just so convoluted, and the acting is just laughably bad. That one I would say is worth sitting down and watching, but not The Last Airbender, to be honest. Couple others, Jupiter Ascending. Did you guys see this movie? I think it was.
I wanted to and then forgot about it.
Don't just don't. It's just hard. It's just so bad. Long movie. You think well, there might be good action or special effects. No, it's just another really bad one. I got a couple more, but I'm just gonna leave it there. Just some. So I would recommend The Room. That's just a kind of a classic bad coldy kind of movie, but yeah.
What's Jupiter the one Ryan, that you were going to take that you said that you liked it, but it was terrible?
Batman and Robin.
Yes, I had that on my list.
Bat with the bat nips and and terrible one-liners. I loved it.
Yeah.
That one couldn't qualify for me because my dad actually took me to see that when I was younger, but he literally pulled me out of the theater and he demanded his money back. Wow. So I still to this day. I never finished the whole thing. I never wanted to go back, just because I thought my father would disown me, but also just as an adult, I just heard so much about it. I'm well, I just don't need to waste my time and see that. I just enjoy the over the top clips of Arnold's stupid one-liners.
We turned it into a drinking game, wherever there was a one-liner or something like that, you drank, and it got rough.
Just the horrible puns, yeah.
All the horrible puns you drank. It was great.
That's awesome. I had one more on my list. It's a Sylvester Stallone movie, also sort of a superhero movie, I guess. Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd was pretty bad. It was supposed to be a big blockbuster movie.
Okay.
It acted up for so long, and when it came out, it was
actually like the remake.
I have not seen the remake, so verdict's out.
It's with the dude from The Boys.
From the Boys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I can't just blanked on his name. I enjoyed that one. It was still over the top. It was kind of great.
Yeah, don't go back and watch the original. That one was pretty terrible. All right, let's get into some football stuff here. So let's do some favorite Dynasty stashes or buy lows. We'll just kind of go around the room. Steve, we'll go to you first here. Give me one of your favorite stashes or buy lows.
Yeah, so for me, one of my favorite post type sleepers at this point, just because of how disappointing last season was, for me is still Elijah Moore. I know he's going to be still on a lot of rosters, but I think a pretty good chance to buy low at this point with Nathaniel Hackett coming in. Some people are kind of freaked out about that because of just like the horrible season with the Broncos that just occurred. But as the offensive coordinator for the Packers, I mean, it wasn't like the Packers offense was like bad or anything. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's really a bad fit there. I think he probably is better fit just as a coordinator rather than a head coach from what we saw in Denver. But Elijah Moore, just from a talent standpoint, I'm still very into him. I kind of want to take last year as a fluke. So if I can buy low on the talent alone, with obviously Garrett Wilson being the number one there, I'm more than happy trying to acquire Elijah Moore.
I like it. Yeah, that's a good one. He's definitely a post high sleeper because I know I loved him going into his second year. I thought, oh, he's gonna break out. Garrett Wilson will be, good, but he'll just be the rookie there. But it ended up being the opposite way. So yeah, that's a good call there. Ryan, what you got for your stash for buy low?
I got Pierre Strong. So he flashed a lot of just natural raw talent. He has good size, sub 4.4 speed, runs strong, good receiver out of the backfield. Patriots are going to be losing Damian Harrison free agency, which we'll be talking about later. And they always rotate backs, whether we win or not. I love Ramondre Stevenson, but Pierre Strong's going to get work as that number 2 back, and he brings a little bit different, something a little bit different. And if something happens where he gets a starting role, could be wheels up because it's a run-heavy offense. I just see a lot to like there where you can kind of get him for basically free, where you have the opportunity for a cheap play that could measure out big.
Yeah, I like that. Good call. So I have 2 people that I'll bring up. I'll go with one of them first, and then we'll go back around the room one more time. But the 2 that I have are probably, if you're in a deep dynasty league, probably owned, probably stashed in a taxi squad. We didn't expect much out of them in year 1. But if you're in a little bit shallower dynasty league, like my home league is, they might even be on the waiver wire right now. Maybe they don't know who this person is. But one of them is Jerome Ford for the Cleveland Browns. He played a lot of special teams this past year. Didn't get a whole lot of carries. I think he had 6 carries all season. But he did flash on special teams. And, of course, we know Kareem Hunt is going to be a free agent. So is the Ernest Johnson. Jerome Ford has the athletic ability to kind of fill that second role there behind Nick Chubb. So Jerome Ford, if he's out there on waiver wires, or if you got an owner that just kind of didn't like the way he played this year, or didn't the fact that he didn't get any usage whatsoever, and you can go buy low on him, I would go out and get some Jerome Ford shares if you can. Steve, what you got?
So the second one is kind of a group of players, so just kind of bear with me here. It's essentially any of the non-DJ Moore skill position players on the Panthers. And here's why. I really like that they brought in Frank Reich, the defensive-minded. Matt Rule's out. Offensive-minded Frank Reich is in. Bring in Stu Staley. They're talking to Jim Bob Cooter. So we're talking like there will be an upswing. There should be an upswing in offense in that situation. So like Tommy Tremble, Terrace Marshall Jr., but more specifically here, Chuba Hubbard, as Donta Foreman is going to be a free agent here. I think Chuba has played okay, when he's gotten a lot of volume. It still may be a little rough going, right? But just as a stash, like deep on your bench, buy low. I'm very into looking at Chuba Hubbard as a bounce-back candidate as the Panthers transition from more of a defensive-minded team to an offensive-minded team.
I like it. That's a good call there. He's one of those players that we kind of expected him to sort of play behind Christian McCaffrey, and got the opportunity. Didn't really show too well, but I can see it. Where get an offensive-minded coach in there, things definitely change. Ryan, what you got for your last one here?
I'm taking John Mechie. He missed the whole season due to being sick, and the guy had talent. Like he's coming out of Alabama. With 1,142 yards and 8 touchdowns, and took this year off, obviously for terrible reasons. But you know what? The talent's there, and there's a very, very, very good chance that Houston drafts Bryce Young, which he'll immediately have a connection with, being their all college teammates there. It's the last quarterback he's played with. And he brings that slot role to Houston, which they really don't have with Cooks and God, it's blanked on the other receiver's name. And Nico Collins. There we go. Yeah, and Nico Collins. And he could be heavy volume guy for them because they really don't have that. I think he could be a nice PPR play later on, turn into a wide receiver 3 or better.
I like it. Good call. So I have two guys that I'll just mention both of them really quick. One of them is a running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Malik Davis. We all assume that one of those guys are going to be gone. Either it's Tony Pollard or Zeke will be gone. Malik Davis was the one that filled in when they had some injuries in that backfield, and he flashed some a little bit there. So I do think Malik Davis, if you can get him on a buy low, or even on the waiver wire, I think he's definitely worth an addition. And the other guy, maybe a buy low on this guy. He kind of flashed pretty well here as an opposite of Chris Olave, but Rashid Shaheed. He actually was one of my DFS calls this past season, and he actually was in the Millie Maker lineup when he had his really big week. But he showed some pretty good things to me. He had some really big plays. I think he led the league in yards per catch. Didn't have a ton of catches, but the ones that he did, he looked really good with. So I think with that offense going to be changing up quite a bit there, I think Rashid Shaheed could have some good fancy value going forward. All right. So you like to do something fun for your leagues, fun and unique. At Going for Two Live, we do 1 hour personal league podcasts dedicated to your league. We break down every team in your league. We rank them from worst to first. If you visit goingfor2live.com/PLP for details and to book your podcast. We do Dynasty, we do Redraft, Superflex, Vampire Leagues. We did an Empire League. We did a 20-team league last year. We do a bunch of these. So we've done pretty much everything, all scoring formats. Again, that link is goingfor2.com/PLP. PLP stands for Personal League Podcast. So go book one now. We do have some booked up already for the year. So we only do them on Fridays. So we only have so many Fridays between now and the season starts. So make sure you go and book your podcast. It ends up being like $8.50 a person if you're in a 12-man league, which is pretty cheap. Just add that to your entry fee, $8.50. Anybody can afford that. Something that we do here at Going for Two that's pretty fun. All right, let's get into our free agent mock draft.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right, so the way we're going to do this, basically, we're just going to base this on fantasy value as they stand now. If you want to discuss where you hope they go or where they might go, but just if you were to be, picking up free agents right now for fantasy value purposes only, which of these guys would you want the most? And we'll do 2 rounds here, 12 teams. So Steve, you got the 101 here. Who you got for your first? Oh, Superflex, tight end premium. Let me make sure to say that at the top there. So those quarterbacks will be included as well.
Yeah, so for me, 101, I am sprinting to get Lamar Jackson. Regardless of where he signs, he's just going to be kind of like QB1 chalk for me, whether he's borderline top 5, maybe QB7 or 8, somewhere in there. In Superflex, that's way too valuable to pass up, especially with the rushing upside. Give me Lamar Jackson.
I like
Please.
it. And you just you made Ryan cry a little bit because he's a Ravens fan. I'm sure he's hoping Lamar Jackson well.
Just long as he stays home, I don't give a shit.
All right, Ryan, what you got for the 102 here?
I'll take Saquon Barkley. He's an absolute horse. He came back. He bounced back from the injury perfectly. If he stays in the Giants, he's going to get a ton of volume. If he goes else, he's probably going to be a better offense and going to be more efficient. So I'm cool with Barkley anywhere. He's a superstar.
I like it. That's who I would have gone with at the 101 there. But Lamar Jackson in the Superflex League, obviously great choice as well. So I'm going to go with the guy that led the league in rushing this year. And I think he may have even ended up as the RB1 in some scoring formats. But I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs. And I'm going to hope he stays where he's at. I mean, he got we talked about, I think, the last show or the show before that, Ryan, he got a shit ton of work this year. I mean, he had crazy, 1995 type volume that you don't see anymore in the NFL. He definitely,
dude. Yeah, we were playing over under game on what his volume was, and we were getting up past 300 touches, and we weren't even close.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'll take Josh Jacobs all day and just hope that he stays there with the Raiders. All right, Steve, back to you with the 104.
Okay, I just want to address Kyle's question. He goes, "Are you sprinting as fast as Jackson?" No, if I attempted to, I'd absolutely would pull a hammy, if not worse. So at the 104,
and the cow ketchup chips are gross. I've never had them, but they're gross.
Ketchup chips, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, but I'm a fan of ketchup and chips, but not, I don't know about together. But for me at 104, I'm going to take Miles Sanders for sure. Had the big bounce back season after the bizarre touchdown-less 2021 season. But he just demonstrated what he's always been able to do. He's a great athlete, tremendous player, and he obviously can get in. He can get into the end zone, so that's good. So whether he gets re-signed by the Eagles or goes elsewhere, it would be odd if a team did not utilize his services. So give me Miles Sanders.
I love it. Yeah, I love Sanders coming into his rookie season, and then he kind of didn't show too well, and then I was on him high this off season. Like he's definitely going to have some regression to the mean back to, because I mean as good as he was, to not score a touchdown was just a ridiculous number. I mean he had like average 5 yards per carry and all these crazy metrics and couldn't score a touchdown. Great pick there. All right, Ryan, what you got for your next pick?
I'm going to draft Tony Pollard and immediately trade him the day he signs with whoever. But
I like it.
he's the perfect flip candidate because I think with the way his hype's been in Dallas with Zeke there, if he goes to somewhere without a lead back, it's going to skyrocket probably beyond belief. And that offensive line and team and offense in general probably won't be as good. And I don't know if he is a 25 touch kind of guy. So I think it kind of be a little fool's gold, but I'm going to take him and flip him.
All right, I like that pick. That's who I would have taken if he had fallen to me. But you're going to force me to do something gross here that I feel dirty doing. But when you look at the numbers, you can't really deny how well this guy played this year. Daniel Jones, Superflex League. He looked really good this year. Second year in the system next year, as long as he signs with the Giants, obviously. I think he will. I think he will sign with the Giants because he just had a great year. Obviously, made the playoffs. No one picked him to do any of that stuff. In Superflex leagues, he's definitely. I mean, he was a QB1 this year, and the reason why I think he can be even better next year. We saw the jump that Josh Allen made in that system. When he was when the coach was there in Buffalo. So Daniel Jones is my pick here at the 106. All right, Steve, you got the 10, or you get the 107 here. What you got?
I think I'm just gonna stay true to my board here and I'll take David Montgomery as a hopeful volume back wherever he may sign. That this is hoping that he does not sign back in Chicago and just let Khalil Herbert do his thing.
Right.
Say he signs with the Dolphins. I don't want to say any other picks, but it's a wide open backfield. So if he would happen to land there, that would be really ideal. I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, that's a great pick there. I like that pick. Ryan, what you got?
Being a tight end premium, I like a Dalton Schultz. He's done very well in Dallas, and in all reality, in most teams he's going to go to aren't going to have those kind of wide receivers in a back like Pollard taking away touches from him. He could really show up if he gets at the right team, the right thing. And if he stays in Dallas, he's still going to be top 5.
I like it. Yeah, he's definitely a great pick there. I'd almost forgotten about him being tight end premium. He's definitely a good choice. All right, I'm up here at the 108, and things are starting to get a little bit stickier, I think, here.
Dude, take Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
Yeah. Let's see. Where am I going to go here? You know what? I'm going to go with the guy that nobody saw coming. Ryan, I'll give you props. I think we did a buy low or a bowl prediction or some kind of podcast this past off season, and you named this guy as one of your guys you wanted for the price you were getting him, and it is Jamal Williams. What do you have? 18 touchdowns this year, or something like that? Something crazy.
Yeah. He was my most owned player this year, and in all formats, but especially like best ball and redraft everywhere. I didn't leave a draft without him.
Free. I remember you saying that on the podcast. He was basically free, and obviously I don't think you expected him to do what he did, but
no, I thought he'd be serviceable.
Right, but yeah, the fact that he was a touchdown scoring machine. I do think he stays there in Detroit. They love him. He loves Detroit. It seems.
Love him.
Yeah, so I will take Jamal Williams with the hopes that he stays where he's at. All right, Steve, you were up here.
All right, I am going to go back to tight end because it is tight end premium and just try to continue to ride the wave that Evan Ingram has kind of laid out here for us. He's always had like the pass catching upside. Obviously has struggled with drops in this, but did this year with Trevor Lawrence has really showed, just how good he can be and has been, at times. So I will kind of jump on the prospect of him, hopefully not going back to like the dark ages there. But because it's tight end premium, I like him a little bit better than some of the other options. So I'll take Evan Ingram and hope for the best.
All right, good stuff. What are we at, the 108, or are we at we're at the 108 now, right? Yeah. Sure. I lost track there. All right, Ryan, you are up here at the 108, and surprisingly, we're at what, 7 picks in now, and we haven't taken a single receiver yet, so that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I love the Ingram pick. That's what I was looking at next. Only if he stays in Jacksonville.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we're actually at the 111. I just counted up all our picks, so this is your last pick in the first round, Ryan.
Math is hard. God, I'm reluctantly. No, I can't do it. I'm gonna take Juju. I'm gonna take the first receiver. Him in Kansas City was good this year. I think another year in the system, learning it. I think he has decent potential, even though after saying this, I hate it. I kind of wish I'd went with my other pick, but it's fine.
All right, I'm up here at the 112 after that ringing endorsement for Juju that Ryan just had for his pick there. It sounds a little bit buyer's remorse. I'm gonna go back to the quarterback. This guy had the rare season 7 breakout or whatever it was that Geno Smith had.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Geno Smith here again, hoping that he stays with Seattle. I think that he will. I think they want to keep him there and grow in that offense. And the surprise that he was this season, I think it's not a fluke. He played well, and I think that they got the best out of him this year, and I think they can do it again next year. All right, Steve, back to you. We're in round 2 now. You get the 201. This is a linear draft.
Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'll take Jacoby Myers. Glad that he's able to find the end zone a little bit more this season rather than just the one time or the 2 times last year.
Yeah, he was the Miles Sanders of receivers basically last year.
That's exactly right. No, he still has a good
touchdowns. That's fine.
Yeah. No, he's still got like an ideal size, kind of mixed target share or volume, I guess, in New England, but I guess they just like to spread the ball around with their wide receiver core there. But I think he could be a solid wide receiver 2 for a team that likes to pass a little bit more. So as like a wide receiver 3 flex, kind of like a deeper flex play, I'll take Jacoby Myers as my first wide receiver.
Yep, I like that. That's a good call there.
That's who I was regretting my Juju pick with.
You wanted to go Jacoby instead?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Ryan, you are up now at the 202.
I'm going to take Kareem Hunt in hopes that he lands somewhere where he can be the man. I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know if he still has the juice to be an every down back because he's going to be 28, and that's old running back years. But he's got low mileage on him, and every time he gets the ball, he's flashed. So I'm going to take Hunt with the hopes that he lands somewhere where it's wide open for him.
Yeah, that's who I would have taken.
Like if he went to Miami with that offense and the way he could slash there, he would have been picked much. Like if I knew he could go somewhere like that, I'd be taking him top 5 in this draft, top 3. Like 100%. He could land somewhere very nice.
Absolutely. All right, so that's who I would have gone with had he fallen to me, but I'm going to take this pick as more of an ode to this guy who I picked up this year, my Dynasty home draft, and I'm going to say it one more time. I won my home draft this year. This is the trophy. You got it right here.
Oh, yeah.
Trophy. But this is the reason I won this year, because I had gone into a rebuild. I lost all of my running backs. They were on IR. I lost Devontae Williams, Breece Hall. I was like, you know what? I got some older guys. I'm going to go into a rebuild mode. I sold Mike Evans. I sold Keenan Allen. I sold Christian McCaffrey after he was traded, got some value for him. And I was like, you know what? I just need a running back to start the rest of the season. So I traded a 3rd-round pick for Mr. Jerick McKinnon who carried me on his back with Cam Akers and A.J. Dillon as my running backs, carried me to a championship that I finished up with Sam Darnold as my quarterback because I also lost Kyler Murray as well. So the most unlikely championship this year, and it was all thanks to Mr. Jerick McKinnon. So I would draft him here as a play, hoping he stays there with the Kansas City Chiefs, and why wouldn't he? So McKinnon is my pick there. Steve, to you next.
All right, so I'm going to look back to quarterback, and I'm going to go with Mr. Handsome, Jimmy G. Hoping he signs with the Raiders, maybe even the Buccaneers. Who knows? I think both situations would be great, but as a QB2, QB3 on my like the next guy up for like bye weeks or that kind of thing, I'll take Garoppolo for sure right now.
Yeah, Garoppolo pissed me off because he was in that game smiling and happy. He seemed way too happy to be losing the way they were losing.
That's because he was healthy. He was a healthy scratch, and you know it.
Yeah, he was living it up. He's like, yeah, I won't be here next year. I'm gonna go make $1 billion somewhere else to throw 100 passes in a season and get hurt again. All right, Ryan, you were up here at the 205.
I'm gonna take Damian Harris. We've seen flashes. He has talent. They've just always done that rotational thing, and they've landed on a couple guys who might be a little bit better. But him coming to the age 26 season, low mileage, he can land in a spot where he gets some carries because he has all the tools because he is a pass catcher. He can run between tackles, run outside. He could be a good back somewhere.
I like it. Yeah, that's a good pick there. Damian Harris off the board. Who do I want to go with on my next pick here? Do I want to go to receivers? God, receivers is ugly this year. There's like
it's disgusting.
It's really brutal. I guess I'll go with Allen Lazard here. I think he's probably the last of the receivers that are worth taking in this draft. Unless you bet on some upside in some of those guys. But Allen Lazard, I think he's shown some flashes here and there to be a solid number 2. He's not ever going to be a number 1. But if he lands in the right spot where they can use him a little bit more than they used him in Green Bay, I think he can be a decent receiver to have as some depth pieces. All right, Steve, 207, what you got?
I will take Alexander Madison, a player who I think just has a ton of potential, has seemingly played well whenever he's been given an opportunity. With an aging Dalvin Cook, so if he stays around, I kind of like that, just as a little insurance policy. But if he goes elsewhere, I think he could carve out a decent role in the right system.
I like it. All right, Ryan's getting ugly. What you got at 108?
I'm taking Richie James and hoping he stays in New York. He had a little bit of a connection with Danny Dimes down the stretch. He played surprisingly really well. So I'll take that chance hoping he stays and plays a little bit for them.
Yeah, he was a popular DFS choice because they never raised his price. No one ever bought into him. He just kept catching 1 billion passes a game. We just kept putting him in at $3,900, $3,800 a week in DFS and just living it up.
It made no sense, but I'll take it.
Exactly. In that similar vein there's another guy that we took quite often that had some injuries on his team, and whenever he was on the field, played really well. I don't believe he had a single drop all season. That's Greg Dortch. We called him, like the Dortch we used to say on our podcast on the Friday night show. He was always cheap, always has been great PPR numbers. He was to the Cardinals what they had hoped Rondale Moore was going to be. He just couldn't stay healthy. So Greg Dortch is a pick there, hoping he stays there in Arizona as well. All right, Steve, this is your last pick here. What you got?
I'm going to go with Rashad Penny here, hoping that he gets signed with the team and, stays on the field, right? But we've seen him has a tremendous ceiling. I mean, a lot of these guys have decent ceilings, obviously, but down at this lower end, huge ceiling when he's gotten a significant amount of volume, can catch passes. So just hoping he can stay out of that trainer's room and can stay on the field. But I'll take a shot or a stab at Rashad Penny late here.
Yeah, that groan that you heard is from Ryan. He is not a Penny supporter whatsoever. He's hated him from his rookie season.
I've hated him since day one.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah,
well documented hate from Ryan.
He might be the first player I've ever. He's the first player I've ever hated on a podcast.
Yeah, and he didn't stop hating there either. He hated on every year after that too. All right, Ryan, last pick here. What you got for the 211?
I'm gonna take Mike Gesicki. I think he has that touchdown upside. I don't know if he was in the offense that worked best for him in Miami. I think a change of scenery could be nice. He had an okay year for a tight end, but I think we could see some good things out of him in the right spread offense.
All right. Great last pick there. I think I'm going to go with another guy that was in that ugly running back rotation on my championship team. I rolled down the season with Cam Akers, Jerick McKinnon, A.J. Dillon, and Mr. Jeff Wilson Jr. I only had him on my team because I had Elijah Mitchell, and I thought that he would be the one to fill in when Mitchell got hurt. Of course, he gets traded to Miami, becomes the RB1 there. Has a few games where he really shows out, and he's done that before in the past where he's shown out when he gets the opportunity. I don't think he'll be in Miami again this year. I could be wrong, but I think he will be somewhere else, probably not as a starter, but you never know. Injuries happen. Maybe he gets his chance once again, and he always seems to perform and gets his opportunity. So I'll take Jeff Wilson at the last pick here at the 212. All right. I was going to call out some names that I thought would get drafted, but there really isn't a whole lot of names worth calling out in this list. I mean, the Ernest Johnson's had a little bit of hype here. Every once in a while, we talk about him. Devin Singletary's still on the board. He's been okay. Samaje Perine, of course, he's had some good success when Mixon's been hurt.
You forgot to put Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley on the list for quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley with his 2 touchdown passes. Yes, he is.
Dude, that got Baltimore a comp pick. I'm happy.
Yeah,
he doesn't deserve it. They're getting a comp pick from it now.
Yep,
awesome.
Absolutely, that's pretty good. My boy did not get drafted. If you listen to the podcast, everybody knows I loved Irv Smith Jr. and I really wanted him to break out. He did not get drafted. Of course, had injury history, and obviously now it's been replaced by T.J. Hawkinson. So who knows where he lands? And
I'm glad everybody hates Singletary as well.
Yeah. I looked at him a couple times and I was kind of like, he's not really that exciting. I'm going to pass on him. All right, let's get to our final segment of the night.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, for long-time listeners of the show, we've been doing this segment now for 5+ years, but we just changed it up a little bit this year. Instead of just having our guest give us their player, they now give us hints, and me and Ryan have to kind of guess to figure out who this player is. So, Steve, go ahead and give us some of your hints here and see if we can figure out who your player is.
Okay. So, this is a player that I have just always admired, was like a favorite, kind of guy in the fantasy football culture, if you will. So, I guess I could start by saying when he was drafted, he was a 2nd-round pick. Should I just rattle off some hints and then
team, year?
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So he was a 2nd-round pick coming out in the combine. He had a 4.39 40-yard dash. Running back. Okay. Played on 2 teams during his career. Often not referred to by his full name, but simply by his initials. He holds the franchise. What's that?
Chris Johnson.
What'd you say?
Not Chris Johnson. No.
Never mind.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay.
Oh, David Johnson.
Nope. But it is a running back. He holds the franchise record for single season rushing yards and total touchdowns for the franchise he played for primarily. Rushing TDs for the franchise record as well, with 68, as well as single season rushing touchdowns in a season, which is with 15, and then total touchdowns, was 81. And the single season rushing record was 1,606. He had a cameo in the league, so got to represent my Shiva Bowl shirt here.
Oh, in the league, that should narrow it down. Can we get a year? What years did he play?
From 2006 until 2014.
Oh, not that long.
Oh, Adrian Peterson?
Nope.
AP?
No.
So he played on 2 teams. He played on 2 teams. The last team he was on was his hometown team from where he grew up.
Damn, I might have lost. I'm trying to think of guys that are known by
2 letters, isn't it?
Just his initials, so not
Was it-
necessarily 2 letters.
Okay.
Also, he was a very early proponent of being outspoken about being into fantasy football while an active player. So he was one of the first to be really vocal about his enjoyment of it and being into it. Because a lot of players are just like really like standoffish about it.
What were the years again? 2000
to 2006 to 2014. He went to UCLA.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I know who it is, but it's the little guy.
The little guy.
Oh
Bro.
my god. Huh? No.
I just threw out a little guy's name.
He played for
this
the
is-
Jags.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh
Jags
my god. I
and the
freaking
Raiders.
love him. I just blanked on his name.
Played for the Jags and the Raiders. MJD.
Yeah.
MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew.
I just couldn't think of his name.
Yes. Great one. That's a good one. It took us a while to get there. And the college thing never helps me. It always helps
The,
Ryan.
the
don't
college
want
immediately gave it to me. And it's just like,
Gotcha.
oh,
Good
I can't
stuff.
remember what episode of the league he was on.
Yeah.
He's-
He's in the in like the Ruxin
The Super Bowl Shuffle.
in the Super Bowl Shuffle. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good call. I love it. Good stuff.
Yep.
Ryan, this is the best idea ever to do it this way.
Dude, I know. I'm real happy about it.
All right, that wraps the podcast up, fellas. Again, Steve, thanks for coming on, man. I know, I was on your podcast the last 2 weeks, and I wish I was on the podcast for a third week in a row with my team being out the playoffs. Unfortunately, I will definitely check out the last episode. I guess you're having it next week, I'm assuming.
Yep. We got this week off, a little mini vacation, and then we'll run it back next week for sure.
Good stuff. Go ahead and give us your Twitter handle one more time, and if you want to plug anything that you're working on, go ahead and do that as well.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Ladder. I'm primarily on there. I'm on the other socials as well, but not quite as active. You can check out my podcast called the Fantasy Ladder Podcast on the IDP Guys YouTube channel. And obviously you can download that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. I may have some written work coming out here in the off season, so keep an eye out for that on Dynasty Pros Fantasy Football, as well as IDP Guys in general. So that's that.
Good stuff. Yeah. Ryan, what you got going on?
Yeah, same as usual. Foss 534 here Wednesday nights. Dynasty Big Board Wednesday mornings.
Good stuff. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. This off season, I have committed myself to doing some more writing. I started this whole website and podcast a long time ago, and I used to write all the time. In the last few years, I've kind of lost sight of it. So I just put out an article that I haven't, written in a while, but I put out an article of the 12 worst dynasty managers that you're guaranteed to hate. It's been getting a lot of love on Facebook and Twitter. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out at goingfor2.com.
Was one of them just Gerson?
No, it was not. But I should have been. It should have been an honorary. It should have been like an honorable mention. I love it. All right. For Steve, for Ryan, I'm Jeff. We will see y'all actually next Friday. We won't be here Wednesday. We'll be here Friday next week for the Super Bowl party for the prop bets and everything else. So check us out on Friday next week. See ya.